Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, good morning, everyone. Since the 9/11 memorial opened 8 years ago, almost 50 million people have visited to pay respects to those that we lost, and to remember the acts of heroism and service that followed those attacks. Those attacks continued in so many forms long after the sun set on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. In the days and months that followed, thousands of people came to the World Trade Center site to take part in the rescue and recovery effort. They came from all over the region, from across the country, and from around the world. Some had friends or family. Some had survived the attacks themselves. Others were volunteers drawn here by a sense of duty or out of the simple kindness of their hearts. For 9 months, they worked tirelessly and selfishly around the clock under conditions that were grim and dangerous. Some searched for survivors and then for remains, to bring a measure of solace to grieving families. Others cleared the site. Others distributed food and clothes and cared of the workers who had come to help. They showed the world what is possible when people work together with a common purpose. And like the heroes that we lost on 9/11, their selfless acts provided light that helped guide us through our darkest hours, and they allowed our city to rise again. For some, the end of the recovery was the beginning of an even more difficult journey of sickness and disease. Tragically, not all who labored so valiantly for their city and country in the aftermaths of the attack survived. In the years since 9/11, thousands of people have become ill or died from causes related to the attacks. That group includes many people who participated in rescue and recovery. It also includes people with homes and workplaces in the surrounding area who would not allow terrorists to force them to abandon their communities. It includes students at local schools, children and teenagers who were evacuated from classrooms during the attacks. It includes members of the FDNY, NYPD, the Port Authority and the Port Authority Police Department, and the Departments of Sanitation and Design and Construction, and all the city, state, and federal agencies who played a role in the recovery, along with all the iron workers and construction trades and companies who lent a hand. And it includes volunteers from every walk of life. Many helped lead the fight to make sure that the federal government would care for everyone whose health was affected because of the attacks, even as they fought for their own lives. They truly are heroes. I was lucky to work alongside them as mayor, and we have lost too many of them. Today, we are dedicating this Memorial Glade to all who became sick or died because of causes related to the attacks, and to all the men and women who took part in the rescue and recovery effort that ended on this date 17 years ago. During rescue and recovery work, a central ramp allowed people in the worksite. The Memorial Glade now occupies that same spot, I'm happy to say. And as you can see, the Memorial Glade includes a pathway through a tranquil clearing on the 9/11 Memorial Plaza. At one end of the pathway is the survivor tree, which was badly damaged during the 9/11 attacks. Recovery workers saved it and brought it to safety. It has since grown into a symbol of resilience and rebirth. In fact, seedlings from the survivor tree are now growing in cities around the world that have experienced acts of violence or terrorism. Along the pathway, there are 6 granite monoliths thrusting upwards towards the sky. Cracks in the stone were bound with steel from the World Trade Center. The stones and steel are a reflection of the strength that we have drawn from those who helped heal our deepest wounds. The Memorial Glade was designed by Michael Arad and Peter Walker, who also designed the memorial site. Many others gave input to help shape the final design. Friends and families who lost loved ones, people struggling with illness, those who live in the neighborhood, and those who commute to it. The Glade tells their story, and it is a story that, like the 9/11 Memorial, continues to evolve. It must, because the effects of 9/11 are still being felt and being discovered. We have a duty to care for those who need it and to honor the memory of those who died. The Memorial Glade helps us to fulfill that duty. And I hope it will also remind people of the power of service and inspire them to give back in their own ways. And I would like to thank everyone who has helped to make this a reality. In honor of those we lost to illness related to 9/11, let us observe a moment of silence. Thank you. This is a day to remember and pay respects, but it is also a moment to celebrate the people who worked so hard to bring our city back and who set such a powerful example through their sacrifices and perseverance. We are eternally grateful. So please join me in applauding all the people here who contributed to the recovery of the World Trade Center site, and all the members of the community who helped this neighborhood to recover and reach new highs. Governor Andrew Cuomo and his team have done a lot to support the Memorial Glade and to make it possible, and we are joined today by the counsel to the governor, Alfonso David. Alfonso?
Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. Welcome, and on behalf of Governor Cuomo and all New Yorkers, let me thank all of you for being here today. I want to express my gratitude to Mayor Michael Bloomberg for his tireless commitment to this 9/11 museum in the Glade. To Alice Greenwald for her sound stewardship of the memorial. And to the hundreds of advocates, from Jon Stewart to the first responders to the labor unions who fought to make sure that this Glade became a reality. I also want to pay special tribute to the Pfeiffer family. Karen Pfeiffer, Taylor Pfeiffer, and Terrence Pfeiffer. Their brave husband and father, firefighter Ray Pfeiffer, responded to the World Trade Center on September 11th. He worked for months clearing the pile and then fought cancer, even while he actively lobbied Congress to pay the health benefits of first responders. Ray died nearly 2 years ago, and he will always be remembered here in this hallowed place. I want to thank the Pfeiffer family for being here today. Your sacrifice is our sacrifice. No one will or should forget what happened here in New York City on September 11th. It was a day of enormous tragedies, the deadliest attack in our nation since Pearl Harbor. Nearly 3,000 innocent people lost their lives here at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania. Amid that day of horrific tragedy, we also witnessed great bravery and courage. While thousands fled towards those burning towers, first responders like Ray Pfeiffer, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, Port Authority workers ran toward the danger. Common sense told them to run in the opposite direction, but their duty was to protect, and they instead ran toward danger. After the towers came crashing down, thousands of first responders, construction workers, and volunteers combed through the site despite the toxic fumes coming from the burning wreckage. At a time when we see ourselves as a nation divided, it is important to remember these first responders did not think about themselves as Democrats or Republicans. They didn't see themselves as white or black or Hispanic or Asian. They saw themselves as Americans. And as Americans, they stood together, from rescue to recovery, to eventually clearing the last of the rubble. They completed their work months sooner than expected. And today we remember the day that they finished the job. May 30th, 2002, 17 years ago today, when the last column was removed to mark the end of the cleanup. On the first responders, we have some tragic numbers. FDNY, 343. The Port Authority, 37. NYPD, 23. That was the death toll among our first responders. The men and women of the fire department, the officers of the Port Authority, and the members of the New York City Police Department who perished. More than 17 years ago, we still feel the pain and the loss as if it was yesterday. They sacrificed their well-being to help others reach safety, to find survivors, and to recover what they could. And we must honor them, not only today, but every day. We have to make sure that this space is sacred. This sacred site reflects their memory. New York State and New York City has contributed to making sure that this museum is a monument to them. And I want to say, again, thank you to Michael Bloomberg for having the vision and the tenacity for making it a reality. We are all New Yorkers. We're all New Yorkers, upstate, downstate, California, New York, Florida, Illinois. We believe in each other, and together we will forge a path forward. Let this Glade be a place of solace and a place of hope to many. It is now my privilege to honor and introduce the Pfeiffer family. I would like to ask Karen Pfeiffer and her two lovely children to come to the stage.
Good morning. I came today to help dedicate the Memorial Glade in honor of my husband, firefighter Ray Pfeiffer, a man who used to say, "Do the right thing, even when no one is looking." My name is Karen Pfeiffer, and my husband lost all 12 members of his Manhattan firehouse on 9/11. For him, the guys were family, whether they had been in his firehouse or in another. Like so many of you here today, Ray spent the next 9 months searching and digging at ground zero, without being asked, without being told, and without thinking about the consequences. But there were consequences. There was illness and pain and death. And for Ray, that meant his guys and their families were in trouble. He was a first responder who dedicated his life to helping other first responders, to fighting for health care, to safeguarding their families, to making a lot of noise to make sure our country kept its promise to those who brought healing in the aftermath of 9/11. Ray was the best husband and father, so proud of his kids, always there for all of us, cheering us on, making sure we and our whole extended family were safe and taken care of. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that he did that for everyone he felt was family. And in his case, that meant a lot of people. That meant anyone who had worked on the pile, anyone who worked in rescue and recovery after 9/11. We lost Ray 2 years ago from what began as kidney cancer, a result of his work down at the World Trade Center site. I know many of you are suffering through your own nightmares, whether you worked on the pile, lived nearby, or went to school in this neighborhood. Lending each other support, even through the toughest times, finding strength and hope in one another. Ray loved being a firefighter more than he loved anything. And in a way, this glade reminds me of him. It's trees that offer shelter and reach for the sky, providing a place to sit and remember and be together. On behalf of Ray and our children, Terrence and Taylor, and on behalf of all the widows and widowers, I thank you for giving us a place to remember them. A place that honors the work that they did, their courage and their strength. What a beautiful place for our heroes. And Ray, like you said, do the right thing, even if no one is looking. And today, Ray, everyone is looking. Thank you.
either end of the Memorial Glade are steel panels. Like guardian sentinels, they stand watch, and they mark the entrances into this sacred place of honor and remembrance. Each bears an identical inscription, which reads as follows. This Memorial Glade is dedicated to those whose actions in our time of need led to their injury, sickness, and death. Responders and recovery workers, survivors, and community members suffering long after September 11th, 2001, from exposure to hazards and toxins that hung heavy in the air, here and beyond this site, known as Ground Zero, and at the Pentagon and near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks. Here, we honor the tens of thousands from across America and around the world who came to help and to heal, whose selflessness and resolve, perseverance and courage renewed the spirit of a grieving city, gave hope to the nation, and inspired the world. We'll now officially dedicate the Memorial Glade with a performance of taps. At its conclusion, the Memorial Glade will open for the first time. With deepest gratitude for all whose dedication and sacrifice have contributed to the sanctity of this site, it is my great privilege to invite this special community, the people who gave us hope when we needed it most, to be the first to enter. Thank you all for coming together today and for joining us for this historic occasion.
I need to take another picture of the QR.
Hey, there he is.
Tough.
What's up?
How you doing?
All right, how are you?
Thanks for coming, I guess. And
Yeah.
we always hit it. Oh man,
You all
what a
right?
day.
Yeah.
Tired.
Yeah.
Can't even hold the camera anymore, you know? Getting too old for this.
Let's get an intern.
And it turns. Oh, you only knew. They don't make them like they used to.
No.
She wants to husband. Yeah. You just grab her. I guess nobody can. No, that's all right. Didn't always over the other
What did frustrate you in your business?
No, sorry, just trying to listen in.
What does it mean to continue to try to get the message out? Because I don't know if the general public realizes that there's still so many people sick and so many people who will continue to die year after year.
Yeah, it's difficult. Unfortunately, John knows it's getting worse. We're just trying to look. No matter what we do, it's not going to necessarily solve their grief or their suffering. But whatever it is that can be done to make it so that their families don't have that compound.
Well, you've been deputized. You're the media. I mean, if John Stewart's the sheriff, and the James Droga Health and Compensation Act is his badge, and you guys have been deputized
And it really is
to
tough
let
to-
the masses know
Yeah, and talk to
that
everybody.
there are programs in place that they can get free health care, they can get compensated, and leave it up to the advocates to ensure that Congress gets a bill passed in the next few months. Because I bet my one kidney, I'll bet his ranch and farm in New Jersey that we get started.
We're going to get it.
Well, you just don't want to leave the farm.
We just talked to Cheryl.
Well, I mean, doctors and lawyers and elected officials are very careful in how they choose their words. Jerry Nadler's got a job to do as chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We now have the support of the ranking member of the Republican Party in the Judiciary, Representative Collins from Georgia, who's a co-sponsor of our bill. We do not anticipate any issues, any problems going through the House. Where our problem's going to lie is in the Senate, where everybody knows bills go to die. But we've beaten the Senate in 2010, we've beaten the Senate in 2015, and again, I will bet my one kidney in John's farm that we beat the snot out of the Senate in 2019.
Can't we bet my kidney in your farm? Why do I have to give up the farm?
Do I look like I own a farm? Or I could afford a farm?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. Thank you both. Good to see you. This is Dennis Murphy. Dennis Murphy's retired attorney.
Hey, Al, how are you? Good.
This history down here is the number of rounds to keep representing. This is Charlotte Irwin. She lost her husband after 9/11 to cancer. He was a true volunteer that got on a fire truck that day. He was a Marine, showed up at the firehouse and said, "I'm going," and they didn't tell him no. And unfortunately, he lost his life to 9/11 cancer as well. So I think that they're going to want to talk to him.
Can you tell me both of you maybe from left to right, like me? Find out.
sacrifice and remembrance that they existed and they served and they gave. And I think it also goes to inspiration for those to come that will also want to serve. It's difficult to be of that ilk and to be married and family to that type of man. He was handsome, he was funny, he was the smartest man I ever met. He was just so kind, and it's a loss for everybody. Every person that came down here is a chum, that I know. They were all incredibly unique and quite wonderful. You know, flawed human beings, like we all are, but one of a kind. We're lucky to be Americans. We're lucky to be New Yorkers. We're lucky to have known.
And if we may we do, sir, how do you feel just being here? I mean, this is the spot where the fact that this will in perpetuity be acknowledged. Your thoughts, your
It's very magnanimous what was done here. Not only to recognize those that died on 9/11, but also those that have gotten sick since. Retired from the NYPD. I worked for 6 months, assigned to the main morgue. I handled the remains, believed to be the police officers and firefighters, and assisted DMOR, the disaster morticians from FEMA, with the civilian remains. I unfortunately was diagnosed 2 years ago with multiple 9/11 cancers. I'm not curable. My doctors have already told me I'm not curable of my cancers. I don't let that deter me. It's very important that people know and understand if you work down here in any capacity, you've got to register with the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring. You've got to get in and get your annual medical screenings. You've got to take advantage of it. The system works. I've been very diligent since 2004. I've been part of the program. I'm an outreach coordinator now. I'm now helping people get registered, and I call people and encourage them that have not been in 3, 5, 7 years for their annual medical to get in. It's 17 years later. Nothing's going to happen to me. Well, let me tell you what happened to me April of 2017. And normally, I get dead silence on the phone. When can I make that appointment for you to get in here and get your medical screening updated? And it works. It works that way. It's very important. It doesn't matter whether you're a police officer, a firefighter, construction workers, utility workers, volunteers that fed us, people that came down here and worked that bucket brigade, whether you're a survivor because you live in the area or you work in the area. It's very important that you register with the program and that you do the medical screening. The earlier you catch some of these problems, the better chances you have of survival. I was diligent in my medical screening. Unfortunately, hey, it crept up on me and it, hit me like a ton of bricks. But, it's I bear with it and I get up each day and I'm happy I'm still here and alive and I keep marching on.
Yeah. They're kind of knowing that they work together, just knowing that they're together and we're together.
It's nice to have a friendship has come about, a very sad part of our lives. And we have grown through each other, helping each other through grief. And, being here, having them remembered and honored for their illness and what they suffered because of their work down here. It's just special having them there together again because we know they're up there probably saying, what are these girls doing?
Here we are, one first responder right here. Great guy. More first responders. Here's Al, first responder, 9/11. Nice, right? Nice.
It's a nice dedication, Phil.
Nice job over here.
Yeah, they did a very nice dedication. All the people that spoke. lot of America sent a lot in here on the response. Just thousands of people were all over. It's a nice dedication of this area.
Yeah, this area is for the sick and suffering, first responders, right?
Responders, people that still flourishing with cancers today. You know, as sad as it sounds, it's many years later, but they're just enduring the horrific pain every day, and cancers are now starting to flourish.
Right.
So, you know, it's a nice dedication while the people are alive. You can just look around. You can see all these people.
Right.
You know, look around at people, you know, just speak to them.
Yeah.
Speak to the people. Ask them. Ask one by one. Ask them what they were involved in. You know? Thanks, Phil.
So, you know, everybody's going.
Guys, first responders here. Ladies here. First responders.
All right.
Good.
Good.
But I didn't know you. I did tell you. I tell you.
Say it's next thing is I get it dry. It's thrown out or dismissed.
All right. Hey. What's up?
Heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. You don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty and the moonlight overthrew ya. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throne. She cut your hair. And from your lips she drew the hallelujah. Well, maybe there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love was how to shoot at someone who outdrew ya. It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, I tried to touch. Told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. Come on now. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord a song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hello. There was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this.